We have some really crazy stuff coming out of Washington State.
I want to be delicate with this, but since you've made it public, you talk a lot about your own daughter and her participation in athletics. Would you support a biological boy competing against your own child?
Oh, Brandi, look, I understand your obsession.
With what?
With trans kids. So what I would say is, look, we live in a world right now where trans kids are going through a lot.
So he can't even say yes. How are you supporting trans kids if you can't even say yes, Governor?
Hey guys, welcome back to Normal Gays, where we take on LGBT insanity. I'm Brad Polumbo here with Clarkson Lawson.
What's up, guys? I'm so excited for this members only. We were just fighting about whether it should be members only.
I'm going to make it a members only because I love the normies.
Okay, so if you guys remember a girl named Leanna, she's chronically disabled. What's the other?
Allegedly. It's an allergy.
Yeah, her allergies make her not able to work. So I figured out a lot about her. She actually has more followers than Brad on TikTok, which I won't let him live down. So we're going to do a deep dive.
It's actually humiliating.
We're going to do a deep dive on what made her so famous and who she is.
That will only be for our channel members, our normies. So join now if you haven't yet. Hit the join button, link in the comments or description. Up first, though, we have some really crazy stuff coming out of Washington State, where the...
Oh, I thought you were going to say D.C. I was like, yeah, that's...
Well, that would just be a day that ends in Y. There wouldn't be any news to that. That'd just be like, okay... No, so the independent journalist, Brandi Kruse, who I'm friendly with, but she is based out there on the West Coast. And she recently had the chance to confront some of Seattle's or Washington State's Democrat lawmakers.
Oh.
And it did not go well for them. So we're going to watch this clip. This is her asking the governor of the state of Washington a very simple question that he simply refuses to answer.
Woman?
No, but that's, I mean, fair. That would also be an interesting question, but that's not it here.
I want to be delicate with this, but since you've made it public, you talk a lot about your own daughter and her participation in athletics publicly. I know she goes to a private school. Would you support a biological boy competing against your own child?
Oh, Brandi, look, I understand your obsession.
With what?
With trans kids. And so what I would say is that, obsession. And so what I would say is, look, we live in a world right now where trans kids are going through a lot. Okay. And so, I want to support trans kids. We have a federal government that essentially wants to erase that community. I'm diametrically opposed to that. So appreciate the question, but I'm ready for the next one.
Can you give a yes or no on it?
Next question.
So he can't even say yes. How are you supporting trans kids if you can't even say yes, Governor?
At least stand on business, Mr. Bob Ferguson.
That's crazy.
She literally just asked him, like, hey, would you be okay with your daughter playing with biological boys? And he accused her of being obsessed with trans kids, which, okay, I don't think that's a fair characterization of her, but let's say that it was. Let's say she was obsessed. Answer the question.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean that you can't answer the damn question.
That's not an answer. It's an important question that people would like to know. As the governor of a state, what is your position on, girls' sports, whether they're just for females or not? And you have this snide non-answer and then, insulting the questioner as if she's the problem.
Well, that's kind of like a Trump tactic.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's just kind of a politician tactic. He does it, certainly.
The thing is people are obsessed with it, and I will give him that, but they're obsessed with it because you guys won't answer the damn question. Like, if you were just clear on if you just said yes, I'm sure a lot more people would stop asking the question.
Well, that's the thing. They're like, oh, well, Republicans are obsessed with this. Well, you could have taken it off the table years ago.
If you just answered with your brain instead of being overly empathetic to the point where you can't even lead your state.
If they had just been like, yeah, we support trans rights, but sports need to be just based on sex. If they had just had that position all along.
It's not that hard to do.
It wouldn't be a nothing burger. I saw polling, and this is relevant because the Supreme Court's actually hearing a case this week about this question. I saw polls that said 67% of Democrats are against trans girls, so biological males, in girls' sports, in school and everything. So even the actual Democratic voters...
That doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't really surprise me, but it's like, what are they just so... these politicians, it's not even like they're taking the view of their own constituents. It's like they're afraid of the radical fringe coming for them.
Well, that's because politicians don't appease voters; they appease their donors
and activists who they know will knock doors and show up.
Stems from the donor class too. I mean, all the nonprofits
and the small dollar donors.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. I don't know. I mean, I've been around a lot of liberals recently, and I've never heard somebody actually tell me. I've never heard somebody make the argument that they should be in women's sports.
No.
Never. The only time somebody's disagreed with me in these circles is they've done that. They've gone, oh, well, there's only like 10 athletes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then just answer the question about those 10 athletes.
That's the problem. It's a sanity test.
Yeah.
And they fail it.
Yeah.
Or they just distract from it and like won't answer it. And that's
Yeah.
annoying. That makes you look like you have something to hide.
Right. Like, why are you ashamed of your belief? Because you know
Stand on
it's
business.
wrong?
If he said, yes, I do, I would have no problem with trans girls playing on my daughter's basketball team or whatever. I would think that's insane, but I respect him more for consistency.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right, at least you're walking the walk and talking the talk. But this like measly mouth snakery, I don't know. I think it's really disingenuous.
Well, what I've found is that being around both conservatives and liberals is that conservative-minded people or right-leaning minded people value consistency more than I would say like the average liberal does. They value more like empathy-based wording, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
I can't relate to that.
I mean, I can't relate to it either. I'm really trying to work on my empathy, but I don't know. It's just like an observation that I've noticed is that all of them will acknowledge that trans women shouldn't be in men's sports, but they'll never say it out loud because they care so much about virtue signaling. It's very weird. It's
That's
a weird
so
concept.
strange.
I don't know.
I can't relate to that. I do value consistency. Like I can actually be friends with people or have respect for people with very different views if I think they're earnest,
Yeah.
not if I think they're two-faced or grifters
Yeah.
or cowards.
And that's
when I have
not
a
to
hard
say
time with
all
people.
liberals are like that, but just
Oh, of
in my
course not. No.
experience, that's something that I've noticed.
So she had another, and this clip is arguably worse. She had another exchange with a Democratic
Oh, God.
lawmaker where he said, or she, I don't remember the gender identity of the lawmaker. Let's watch this.
Can you acknowledge that there are biological differences between men and women that would give boys a physical advantage over girls in athletics?
No, I don't think I could say that definitively. First of all, I'm not I don't have the scientific expertise to be able to weigh in on that.
You don't have the scientific expertise? Bro. Oh my God. This is so bad.
Awareness.
This is so bad.
It's really rough. These people are beyond saving.
I don't know. I feel like the Democratic Party's fighting a lot right now. And there are people with, and we're going to talk about this in another video, but like with the identity politics, I feel like it's going to crumble. I don't know who's going to win though.
They're having a little civil war right now.
There's a civil war. And I'm actually involved in it, which is weird.
Oh, you involving yourself in drama? I'm shocked.
Yeah.
But I just found this clip astonishing because it's like the trust the experts thing to the exponential degree where what color is the sky? Well, I'm not an astronomer.
I was going to say that. I'm like, why? They've become so reliant on experts that they don't even have a brain themselves.
Yeah, right. And they're so, I like to say, like, it's good to be open-minded, but not open-minded, so open-minded that your brain falls out.
Yeah.
That's an example of this.
I mean, yeah, this is like the equivalent of the right-wing raw milk drinking.
Oh,
I
wait,
would
I don't
say.
know anything about milk. I'm trying to think of what a good equivalent is, but I'm sure there is
it's just
one.
like a lot of the Maha stuff is like super just dumb.
Seed
Very
oils.
dumb. Yeah, the seed oil like freak out. And I know a lot of people in the comments are going to freak out on me for saying this, but it's true.
If you don't want to eat seed oils, knock
there's
yourself
two
out.
extremes. There's the people, well, that's totally fine. But to say that they're like inherently, anyways, whatever. But there's two extremes. It's like you trust the science too much to the point where you can't even think for yourself.
Or you think it's all fake and every conspiracy ever is true.
And anything that shows up on your TikTok FYP is automatically the truth if they say they are trying to hide this from you.
Yeah,
So it's just,
I get what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
like you should have a healthy skepticism of experts and of consensus and all of this, and you should do your own research to some extent. But also, like, there is value in people that spend their whole lives studying subjects.
correct.
There is, in any field, way too much complexity for just an average person to fully understand. So you should have some deference to people who know a lot about a subject without totally turning off your brain and being ridiculous like
Yeah.
this person. He literally was just asked, are there biological differences between boys and girls that could affect sports? And he's like, I don't know.
I
That's
mean,
the thing, though. we all know he's lying. Like,
he's lying. It's just a cop out. Like,
yeah.
fifth graders know, fourth graders know that.
And
like,
it's almost worse that he's lying. If he was just genuinely that dumb.
The fact that his constituents let him lie about his cognitive abilities, essentially saying, I have the cognitive awareness of a 6-year-old because I can't tell the difference between a boy and a girl. And that is acceptable for a politician.
Not only is it acceptable, they demand it.
Yeah. Like, you're literally playing so stupid that if you actually believe that, you should, in a just world,
you should be in a padded room.
Yeah, you should be voted out of office immediately.
And probably committed.
Yeah.
Because you might be, like, mentally invalid.
But, you know, we've just become accustomed to people, like, doing, like, what is it called? Like a white lie or whatever? I don't know. Everybody's just lying nowadays.
Yeah, there's really, except for us. We
don't lie. No.
No.
I
did find it funny. Somebody wrote a comment on one of our videos and was like, you guys say you're not judgmental, but then you blah, 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 blah. And we're like, bitch,
he literally sent it to me, and I was like, I like reacted to the message with a question mark.
I'm like, when did we ever say we're not judgmental?
That's
the point, is that we judge things.
Yeah, but we don't judge you based off of things you can't control.
We're not going to judge you for being black or white or gay or straight.
But if
we're
your
going to judge you if it's in your control.
Yeah.
We will judge it. If you're acting up, if you're talking stupid, if you can't see your toes, those are all judgeable things because they're a result of your actions and choices.
Yes, and some actions do deserve to
be called out and ridiculed.
And I wouldn't say shamed. That seems a little harsh. But
no, I think shame. We went too far. We used to have too much shame. Now we don't have enough.
I guess that's true. I think we have a good balance here. We don't shame too often.
Oh, I meant like we don't have enough.
No. As you were talking about collectively.
Yeah.
I know. But anyways, we do judge. So that's the point that we're trying.
And we're judging this who can't answer. Boys, yes, boys are faster than girls.
The Democratic Party, they just, half of them just don't get it. And what's crazy is that the furthest left, they're starting to get it. But the like moderate Democrats aren't. And I don't know. It's very weird. I don't get it.
I don't get it, but that will never win. Guys, let us know what you think. Are you surprised to see this coming from Washington State? I can't say I'm that surprised. But please consider becoming a channel member, like, comment, subscribe, all of that. We'll be back with more Normal Gays real soon.